Good morning. Thank you, David, for joining me talking about, this new year, everyone wants to do better with their finances. And there seems to be that there's an app for everything, including money. But with so many choices, it's hard to find the right one. So you are the expert over at Coastal. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about this and what to look out for as well when you're the consumer.
Thank you, Al. Thank you for inviting me today. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, and you're part of Coastal. You're actually the vice president of the development team with software. So you know the ins and outs, not just apps, but also the mobile features.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've been with Coastal for about 10 years. Like you mentioned, VP of software development.
Mhm.
I've been working with credit unions for about 25 years. So I've seen quite a bit of trends come and go, but digital banking is definitely that will stay.
Yeah, yeah. And I do want to talk to you about that trend because I know personally for us, my husband and I, not that we don't like the tellers. Every time we do go to a coastal branch, we have an incredible time and service. But for the most part, most of our banking is online. And do you see that with a lot of the coastal members now? You said it's not going away. How fast has it been growing?
Exactly. So it's definitely, in my opinion, it's not a trend anymore, right?
Hmm.
It's here, it's a thing, it's a way of life now. So as soon as people open up their account, they're going online and signing up for digital banking. We get about 10,000 members signing up a month. We have
Wow.
roughly 250,000 members um, in our membership, and about 50% of those are digital banking users. Keep in mind, there's also minor accounts and business
Hmm.
accounts and trust accounts that may not necessarily sign up.
Yeah.
So that's why. So we have a pretty high penetration from a credit union perspective with our membership.
So, for listeners who are already members, or maybe they're thinking about becoming members, David, could you go over some of the options that Coastal offers on the digital and mobile side?
Sure. So at Coastal, we're definitely striving to give the power to our members for
Mm-hmm.
them to be able to access their funds on their dime or on their time,
Hmm.
anywhere that they want to. So we're constantly looking for new ways to give them that empowerment. Currently, we have text alerting, which is very important when it comes to securing your transactions.
Hmm.
We have remote check deposit or mobile deposit, where members could deposit their physical checks from their mobile device. We also have online transfers where they could perform a loan payment, a mortgage payment, etc., transfer funds back and forth. They can also schedule those transfers,
Mm.
so and create recurring transfers as well. So a loan payment, your car payments due every month. Why not set that up and it automatically transfers those funds on the dates that you set up. We have bill pay. So if you set up your bills, we could automatically set up bill pay. We also have card controls. So you could, in the near future, you could, or now you can actually lock and unlock your card. You could set
Nice.
up parameters. You could set up travel notices,
Hmm.
different functions like that. We also have fun, quirky little gadgets like tap to save, which allows the members to tap a coin, which allow them to kind of save a buck per tap,
Yeah,
which is
I've
pretty
used that.
interesting.
It's fun when you gamify things. Even small little things there to get you to save more is always welcome in my book.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what's interesting when it comes to digital banking, it's
Hmm.
not just about the basic banking.
Hmm.
There's also online tools for your investments, your
Hmm.
loans, your mortgages, insurance, etc. So, we're definitely trying to be holistic on our approach and give our members as much access to their financial well-being as possible.
Great. And I know it's fantastic to have these tools and apps to, stay on top of your accounts and make sure it's moving in the right direction. But I do want to talk about kind of the other side when you have so much online, including something as important as your finances. I don't know about you, but it seems like constantly there's talks about data breaches and identity theft. And I do want to know, like, what should families look out for when they see an app that says, oh yeah, I can connect all your accounts, or what should they be aware of before they just sign up for the features or those apps in the app store?
So there's definitely apps popping up left and right
Hmm.
daily. My recommendation would be make sure it's a reputable organization. Make
Hmm.
sure it's a reputable company that you're working with. It's always good to talk to friends and family, get their opinion on the app. Make sure that the website, if you're going through the web pages, that it's a secure page. Of course, that it says
Hmm.
HTTPS in the
Mm.
address bar,
Smart.
or that it's green in the address bar, right? So that shows that it's a secure web page. Um, it's also important to protect your identity. There's a lot of ways that your information is out there, especially with all the
Hmm.
breaches that have happened with Equifax and Target, for example, et
Yeah.
cetera. There's a lot of members of our members have their information out there. So the best way is to really secure that information. Um, so how do you go about doing that? There's some frequent or some very important steps that you should definitely take.
Hmm.
Um, Number one, change your passwords frequently. I know it's somewhat of a hassle coming up with new passwords that
Yeah.
every month or every couple months, but it's imperative that you protect your identity out there. So if there has been a breach,
Hmm.
if they have compromised your password, it's important to keep them fresh all the time. Also create lengthy passwords that you'll remember, but also aren't common out there. Don't use the same passwords across all the web pages, right? That's very
Yes.
important. So once your password is compromised, if you use it across all of your different web pages or
Mhm.
sites, and you use the same username, they'll have access to more of your personal information. So it's good to come up with something that will identify different websites with different passwords for yourself. Um, I also recommend that everybody locks their credit reports, and all
Mm.
three of them
Mhm.
go into Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, lock or freeze them until you know you need to use the credit for
Mhm.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I would also do that. And also check your credit reports yearly. Make sure that there isn't any new credit on there that you didn't expect or that you didn't apply for yourself. So the sooner you have access to that or to see that, and you can work through and then get that rectified. Of course, never give out your personal information.
Mhm.
Um, and think about fraud and text alerts.
Mhm.
So those are really useful. You can set that up within our accounts. You can set up limits. So any transaction over a certain dollar amount, you'll get a text. You'll get
Yeah.
notified that a transaction happened. So if it was a fraudulent transaction, you would immediately get that text, and then you could give us a call, and we could work with you to get that off of your account as soon as possible. So those are some recommendations I would recommend to kind of protect your identity out in the wild online. It'll kind of help yourself going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can vouch, definitely you want to set up like alerts or somehow have some kind of parameter with your spending because I've had times where I would not have noticed with the credit cards. All of a sudden, I got a phone call like, "Did you make these four purchases?" And I was like, "No," because we're very strategic when we use the credit cards, and then when we don't need them, they're out of sight, out of mind in the house. I don't
That's right.
carry them with my wallet, but yeah, those come up and we do change our passwords. I actually had to kind of admit I'm old. I had to get a password manager because I just cannot keep track of the passwords from all my accounts. I was just like, as soon as I would set it up, it'd be like 5 minutes later. What was it? But
That's right.
that's the reality of it now is you have to be proactive and you have to like have strong passwords. I'm guilty of it. I used to be like, what was the easiest thing I could remember? And I thought it was clever because it was something I could do. But you really have to understand like these hackers are sophisticated. And so something as big as your finances, you have to be on top of that.
That's absolutely right. And one a very important thing too is
Mhm.
continually monitor your accounts. Make sure
Mhm.
that the transactions of balances are accurate. I
Mhm.
personally had a situation where I went down to Florida on a road trip. When I came back the next month, I'm looking through my transactions and I'm seeing some transactions locally here in Raleigh that I didn't
Mm.
recognize. but there were locations of places I actually frequented. So I would see transactions from Dick's Sporting Goods or
Wow.
McDonald's or different things like that. And
Yeah.
as I was looking at them, I was like, I don't remember going to McDonald's on Friday, or I didn't go to
Yeah.
Dick's and do anything. So I started kind of watching it. But every day I would get new transactions, which was interesting. They would get gas and stuff like that. And then a transaction happened at a local restaurant that I didn't go to. So then I called and did some more research with the credit union. It
Mhm.
turned out it was a fraudulent transaction, and they weren't
Wow.
mine. So even though
Mm.
my alerts
Mhm.
didn't come up because they were local and there were places I would go to, but I literally, they weren't mine. So the credit union worked with me. We disputed them, and they credited my account. Luckily, but you have to watch out for that to make sure that they are your transactions.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. They get more sophisticated with it. You have to be on top of it. I had someone pretend to be like my previous bank, like the email, the phishing scams, even some those little details like that. And so that was a good point when you said, look at the email. Like we don't usually look at the little bar at top, but very quickly, like, is it secure, and is it the actual bank, address, or is it something so similar, but very quickly it changes, and then you think,
That's
oh, this
absolutely
is
right.
secure. So I
That,
know,
that that's absolutely right.
yeah,
You
it
have to look
happens.
at the email
Hmm.
domain address that's coming from. Make
Hmm.
sure that it's truly, for example,
Yeah.
from coastal24.com. I had gotten an email once that was coastal with a one instead of a L.
Yes, I've seen those. Yes. Not
Yeah,
with coastal, with something else, but yeah, with the numbers in the front.
exactly. So you
Yeah.
better be really careful with that and pay attention to those emails. And again, never share personal information. Coastal will never ask for personal information through an email or through a phone call. I'm sure no financial institution will do that. So don't share any kind of information over the phone that's unsolicited unless you made that call and then you started asking questions of the financial institution.
Absolutely. I know I had to do that and in the end it turned out to be legitimate. They called because there was a fraudulent charge, and then they were asking me for information, and then I thought it was too personal, and they were trying to scam me. So I said, do you mind if I call back? And they said, no, actually we'd love for you to, I called the main line, and it ended up in the same department, but I at least had that peace of mind knowing that this was legit. And so if it is legit and they need some information, go through the official line. They shouldn't fight you. They should be
They'll
happy that you're
actually
trying to be
encourage you.
protective. Yeah.
That's absolutely. They'll encourage you
Mhm.
to call back if you have some doubts.
Mhm.
And I mean, we want to make sure that your finances are secure as much as you do.
Yeah.
So definitely call back if you get any pushback. There might be some issues there. So definitely hang up and then go ahead and just call back your financial institution.
Absolutely. David, thank you so much for this. I feel like this is going to be like so timely, even more going forward, because we're relying more and more on apps and banking digitally. So I appreciate these tips and advice. Thank you so much.
No, Elle, I appreciate it. My last piece of advice:
Hmm.
use common sense. Right?
Yes.
Just
Yes.
think about what's going on. Use common sense and protect yourself. You'll be safe out there.
Yes. And guys, if you're listening and you're looking for a better banking option, don't forget to check out Coastal Credit Union. You can see all the options that you have with accounts and the services that they offer. Just go to bankbetter.org.